Welcome to Research Methodology. In today's session, I'll be talking at length about conducting background research. In my previous lecture, I guided you about identifying and refining a topic for research. Once you finalize a broad and general topic for study, the next most important step is to read around it and collect data on it. This search for relevant data and information is called background research. Now, today's discussion is meant to offer you a few very useful guidelines as to how to make this reading process more efficient and productive. Especially, I want to talk about how to read research journals and articles and make the most out of them. If you look at the outline of today's discussion, I initially planned to talk about all these points, but since it is a long discussion, in this video I'll only focus on the first 2 points. What are sources of background research used by researchers to collect data, and then how to read existing research, especially the research articles. As you know, research is a collaborative activity, and we read other people's research in order to learn from it. And background research, as the name itself signifies, helps you develop comprehensive, substantial knowledge of the topic you have undertaken for study. Now, there are basically 2 types of sources we use during this background research: primary research or primary sources, and secondary research or secondary sources. Primary research means studying a topic through first-hand investigation, observation and experience, and information gathered from other people. So this is a kind of reading which is the foundation and starting point of your research. That is why it is called primary research. And all the sources that we use in this context are called primary sources. And second, we have secondary research, which means all the information we gather from already available studies on the topic through libraries and the internet. So this secondary research is all the criticism, commentary and ideas on the same topic that the researcher is pursuing for detailed investigation. Simply speaking, primary sources are the sources on which the research is based, which the research wants to explore. On the other hand, secondary sources are those sources which help us collect more information about the topic and expand our discussion. See, background research is very important in any research project. and in multiple ways. Firstly, background research allows the reader to see how much the researcher knows about the topic that he is researching. So through offering comprehensive knowledge of the topic, the researcher establishes his own professional credibility, convincing the reader that his arguments do not stand out of the context. He is well familiar with what is already produced by other researchers in the same topic, and then he is going to somehow carry some of their ideas forward or build on them. Now here I have provided you a list of both primary and secondary sources just as an example. So in primary sources we have relevant people like the participants of your study. If you are conducting a survey or a questionnaire or an interview. Similarly, historical records or texts, company or organization records, personal documents like diaries, statistical data, works of art or literature, film or video, laboratory experiments, researchers' own observations or on-field experiences. So all of these qualify and are categorized as primary sources. Sources that we use to base our research on, to start our research from. And then we have secondary sources like research books, research reports, journal articles, articles reproduced online, scientific debates, critiques of art or literary works, analyses of historical events. So all these actually provide us ideas on different aspects of the topic, on how it has already been researched by other scholars. So in secondary sources we also have reference books, books that help us bring in more information from other sources which are not directly relevant or related to the topic under investigation. So that is why we use dictionaries, encyclopedias, etc., etc. So this was about two types of research, primary research and secondary research. Next I'm going to discuss how background research is enormously important for any research, and then next I'll talk about how to read research journals and articles to make the most out of them. Now if you imagine and try to recall the spirit and motive and objective of research, it is to expand the already existing body of knowledge. Now in order to expand something or push forward the boundaries of knowledge on the basis of your reading, you must know very well where those boundaries already are. Unless you know this, you cannot expect yourself to somehow extend these boundaries. So this knowledge of the current status of your topic comes from extensive background reading. And this reading actually helps you understand which trends are currently being followed and researched by other scholars. Now, this reading helps you understand the significance and relevance of your own research. Locating yourself in the community of scholars and the body of scholarship that is being produced by them. So if you read perceptively and access all the available data on the topic, you can clearly understand which topics are being debated and studied by other scholars, so as to avoid selecting a topic that has become obsolete and redundant. Because if you simply follow your own topic, contributing your own ideas without reading around it, chances are that sometime you might spend a lot of time on something that is no longer important and being considered by other researchers. The topic might have lost its currency, or it might have already been extensively and exhaustively researched, and you're only reproducing and repeating the same ideas. So in order to see the current trends of research in that area of knowledge, you must read in order to familiarize yourself with the current status of knowledge in that particular area of your own interest. Secondly, after reading, you will be able to identify certain gaps or the scope of a kind of work that is required in that field. So here, things unattempted yet, line which I have quoted from Milton's Paradise Lost, where he is referring to the extraordinary nature of his own epic that he believed nobody ever touched upon, either in prose or rhyme. That is the story of man's fall from grace. Similarly, in research, once you read, you will be able to realize those areas which have been overlooked or undermined by earlier research. So you can easily start working on those areas and make your own research valuable for the community of scholars. So this is how you actually make a worthwhile contribution. Similarly, you may find that a certain topic has already been taken up by other researchers, but it still needs more work. So again, you can follow that topic and start investigating it. Here, I'll recommend you to pay attention to the conclusions and recommendations offered by the researcher at the end of his research, because in this section the researcher not only concludes his discussion, but he also tries to pave the way for future research, talking about those aspects that he recommends for other researchers to pursue and investigate in greater detail. See, no matter how experienced or knowledgeable a scholar is, he cannot be expected to talk about all aspects of the topic in one work. So due to certain limitations of research and time, he has to focus on some particular aspects of the topic. So after wrapping up his research, he feels it obligatory as a researcher, commendable, to identify certain areas that according to him are still not researched or need more work. Sometimes the researcher's work is only preliminary and he invites other scholars to pursue the same topic and add their own ideas to make this research more comprehensive. So if you read perceptively and carefully, you do not need to wonder about finding valuable research topics. They are shared sometimes by experienced researchers at the end of their research. So this reading helps you identify gap, and if you pursue this area which has been left unresearched by earlier researchers, it establishes your own contribution as a researcher and justification of your research project. See, the significance and contribution of your research can be easily proved and established if you try to look at how your research is going to fill in a certain gap in the existing research. Here I have talked about filling in gap in the existing research, but contribution can be established in multiple ways, and I'll talk about it in my upcoming discussions. But there is one more point I want to add here in order to conclude this discussion on how reading extensively and perceptively helps you gather worthwhile ideas for research. Apart from identifying a gap in the existing research, sometimes the researcher also responds to other scholars, either in support or refutation of their argument. And this sort of research is very common in all fields of knowledge, where a researcher talks about an earlier research and disagrees with the argument or certain viewpoint established by the researcher. So he then goes on to talk about his own perspective, how he rejects, on what grounds he rejects the argument of the previous researcher, and then he brings in evidence to convince the reader about the validity and strength of his own argument against that of the previous researcher. So this again becomes very significant research. So here I have talked about how reading allows you to identify gaps in the previous research, and secondly how as a result of reading you can actually respond to other researchers. Now let us look at how to read research papers and make the most out of them. Why I'm talking about research papers is the fact that these research papers address current issues in a field of knowledge. So they actually provide you fresh knowledge, fresh perspective, and new arguments on any topic. So if you start your research, you must access research papers and read them as much as you can. Now in order to look at how to make this reading of research papers more productive, I want to direct your attention to the role of a research paper and its publication. See, a research paper is published because the researcher wants to share his findings and conclusions with the community of scholars. So through this publication, he actually initiates a dialogic process for expansion of knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, after reading this article, a scholar might use it to build on it or respond to it by rejecting the main premises of the research. So this publication of a research article, a research paper, allows the researchers to communicate with each other, and this is how the debate and discussion on different topics continues. So other researchers examine this research and respond to it. So if you read these research papers, you will be able to understand newer perspectives on the topic and how different scholars have written on it. The next thing that is to help you with the initial stages of your research is a question that might occur to many students: how to start reading. So there can be two alternative ways. Either you define a very specific topic in the very beginning and then start searching for relevant material around it. On the other hand, you start with a general and relatively broad and open topic. Now if you look at the first possibility, defining a very focused and specific topic can be difficult and daunting for a novice researcher for two reasons. Because if he does not have substantial knowledge of the topic and expertise in research, he might find the topic too difficult to deal with and justify. Secondly, he might take up a topic that is already been exhaustively researched. So instead of trying to choose a very specific and sharp topic in the beginning. What is advisable and recommended for beginner researchers is to just determine your topic of interest and keep this relatively open and general, and with that you start researching around this topic. Find readings, a body of criticism and commentary on the topic, and this reading will actually assist you in identifying a particular aspect that still needs to be researched and worked upon, and hence helping you narrow down the focus of your research. So do not try to narrow down your topics just using your imagination and speculation, sitting idle and wondering how it can be narrowed down. Rather, allow the reading to do this task for you, because after reading you will be able to easily notice those areas which still need critical attention. So a good perceptive researcher reads extensively, gathers ideas, and then this comprehensive knowledge of the subject and the topic allows him to see gaps or flaws, inconsistencies or problems found in the existing research, and then he can use any of these to use any of these to become the foundation and starting point of their research. So after determining your general topic of interest, which is fairly broad, you start reading. Now as you read, you should be looking at the subtopics of the general topic you have chosen for research, or in other words, try to look at different aspects of the topic which are relevant to your study, and then once you somehow locate these sub points of your topic, try to find more research addressing all of these aspects, all of these sub points. So this is how you actually access more and more data on the main topic that is the base of your research, and in that you actually derive a lot of support from using keywords for search. So if you look at the topic you are studying, you will be able to see which words, phrases are the core of your topic. They represent the main ideas, the major aspects of your topic. So search with those words and you will be reaching and accessing more and more articles and research papers and research works. So this is how you can access a lot of data. In the beginning it might sound that there isn't enough data available on the topic, but if you follow this procedure and with reading identify the subtopics, the sub points, and then search with the keywords, you will be able to expand your knowledge of the topic. Look at how this topic has been discussed by other researchers, which areas and aspects of the topic have been worked upon by them. After that, now you're in a position with substantial knowledge of the topic to formulate a workable topic. the topic that you can choose for your own research. And as this research process continues, you will obviously looking for more and more research to add strength and substance to your ideas and arguments. So this search for ideas, search for more research continues till the end. Although you know, the criterion that I can recommend for determining when to stop searching for more data is if the data you have collected addresses all research questions you have established for your study. It means if you do not look for more data, it is fine. But if you notice that your study still needs more readings because some of the research questions have not been addressed or some of the research objectives have not been met, in that case you should continue to look for more and more research works and more ideas in order to address all your research questions and fulfill all your research objectives. In the end, I want to guide you about how to look at the structure of an academic articles and then sift through them more easily and derive more information out of it. See here, I'm going to list a few components of academic articles common to most of research papers. So if you are familiar with these components and you identify them in the research article you're reading, you will be able to easily move forward and move through that research article, locating all important aspects and pieces of information which are required for your study. And obviously, in order to understand the scholarship and the organization of ideas in that particular article. So these components in simple words are, first of all, problem or question proposed for exploration by the researcher. So every research article obviously is a sort of detailed investigation to a problem that the researcher wanted to solve. He wanted to gather ideas in order to answer this research question. Second, we have the element of available critical opinion about it. So first of all, you try to notice the research problem or research question with which the article starts, and then how the researcher allows you to see and understand the already available critical viewpoint on this topic, on this research questions, how the other researchers have written on it, what is their perspective, and then certainly followed by researcher's own claim or hypothesis, how he personally thinks about the same research question, obviously on the basis of certain evidence and data he'll be providing in that article. So at the same time, here the researcher is successfully able to establish the significance of his own research, how his research is different from earlier research on the same topic. Next, he talks about how the claim is argued or the hypothesis tested. So here he guides you about the methodology and approach he has used in order to substantiate and strengthen his claim, his argument, his hypothesis. So here he allows you to be familiar with the methods he will be using throughout his research. So in literary research, we many a time use literary theory, and we apply this theory in support of our own ideas, and to this application of theory allows us to see what major theoretical paradigm has been adopted by the researcher, although even the use of a certain theory is to be justified by the researcher. Now this use and application of theory and its functions is a topic in itself, and I'll be talking about it in my upcoming discussions. The next thing to notice about a research article is the researcher's findings and the evidence he has to support his conclusions and findings. And then in the end he recommends some topics for future research. Now when you are reading a research article, you must try to identify all of these components, and if you do that, you will be able to easily remember and understand the literary contribution, the scholarly contribution of the researcher, and it will help you keep your ideas clear, not only for yourself but for the sake of using a certain researcher's reference and his article during your own research. So look at all these components and try to read like a scholar, sifting through the article, writing down your notes, highlighting which parts of the article are about problem or research question, available critical opinion about it, researcher's own claim or hypothesis, so on and so forth. So in brief, let me here conclude. If you read perceptively and carefully and follow some of the instructions and guidelines I have shared with you, you will be able to see how your understanding of your topic increases exponentially and brings maturity in your comprehension of the topic and adds to the strength and validity of your own arguments. I hope you will learn from this topic, this discussion, and try to practice the same strategies in your day-to-day academic studies, especially while you are asked to write a term paper by your teachers. Thank you very much. See you next time.